cute, Aubrey.
Woo! We're live.
Hi.
Hi.
Are you in bed?
Hey everyone. I'm Mari, and I'm the editor and creator of Fueled by Coffee and Love. And today I'm joined with two of my friends, Aubrey and Marilyn, and they're going to share a little bit about their experiences writing and editing for the book, and hopefully give you some tips and tricks for sharing your story. Volume 3 submissions are open to the public on February 1st, 2019, and they will close on March 1st, 2019. So the window there is a little bit shorter this year, but hopefully we're preparing you to submit already. The submission template is on the website, fueledbycoffeeandlove.com. So you can get started writing your story and then get ready to share and submit starting on February 1st. If you are on the interest list, you've already got a link to the submission form for early submission. So that's super awesome. We're super excited for this next volume of the book. So the first book was published in, what was it, July 2017? And then, ooh, there it is. Yay, Marilyn.
Yay.
Look, that one. And then
mine's
the
over there.
second one was published in July 2018. And so this one, looking for the same time frame, if not a little bit sooner, maybe to hit the beginning of summer break for some good summer break reading. And if we're really awesome, then maybe even in time for Teacher Appreciation Week. But that might be pushing it. But go team. So Aubrey, do you want to introduce yourself and then a little bit about your story and where we can find it?
Sure. I'm Aubrey. I work at the district level in Colorado, but when I started writing for Fueled by Coffee and Love, I was teaching orchestra. And my story is really, it's in the first volume. It's about halfway through. And it's about a teacher who really changed my life. And yeah, I don't think I want to share too much because I'd rather you read the whole story. But it was really cool to be able to share, and it was fun to be able to kind of honor a teacher who had a huge impact on my life, and then thinking about how that impacts me as a teacher as I work with students.
Cool. And Marilyn, you want to introduce yourself and where we can find your story too?
So my name is Marilyn McAllister, and I'm from a small town in Southern California. And my story is called Triangle of Trust. It's at the very back of the first edition. My story is pretty small. When you start thinking about your stories, for me, I think about, as a writing teacher, we think about write in a particular moment. Sometimes when we start writing, we have so many ideas and it's hard to narrow them down. So I think my first big tip is just narrow it down to a single moment. So my triangle of trust is the relationship between, well, I have two adult children. One is a sophomore in college, and the other, my daughter, she's actually in a master's credential program, and she's 22. It was actually when she was a baby. So my story was the relationship between the babysitter, me as a mother, but also a mother that was going off to teach other children. So it was the triangle of me leaving my baby with the caretaker, parents leaving their children with us as teachers. And for me, I also kind of think about what lesson can you teach. So on the second page of mine's one full page and then the second page. And it's really, this was my lesson. There is a triangle of trust that comes into play. Just as I left my daughter in the care of the babysitter, my students' parents were sending their children to me. In essence, I was like the babysitter that was spending the day with their children. These parents were trusting me to educate, nurture, and love them, just like I was trusting the babysitter. Like I said, my story was very, very short, but I really liked it. And it was a true story. And sometimes as, educators, we, I know I'm probably talking too much, but I guess my point is like narrow it down to a single event. Don't try to tell your life story, but just really just get the essence of your story down.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point too of like really narrowing the stories. Because as the three of us have edited both versions, and the three of us very extensively both versions. And I think that's been some of the stories that we have, I don't want to say changed the most, but shifted the most. Started out as very nebulous, windy kind of stories, and really like we got them to hone in on that one moment that changed. And Aubrey's really good at this. She edits a lot of things very well. So Aubrey, do you want to talk a little bit about like how to get to that really like pivotal moment?
Yeah, I think it's challenging when you have a lot of ideas, but really the more kind of pointed your story is or focused, the more power it has. And and that's really what we want. So I think you want to be able to read your story and sort of sum it up in just one or two sentences. Obviously, we don't want your story to be one or two sentences long, but if really the point or the lesson or the main theme of it is longer than that, it's probably not quite as focused as it needs to be and a little bit harder for the reader to latch on to. Through editing, I know I've seen some that are really, really cool where you want to connect, lots of different experiences. But in a book full of short stories, there are so many stories in Fueled by Coffee and Love that, you really want to have a takeaway, I guess, from yours.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm going to say too that I think for people that bloggers are really able to get the essence down. And both Mari, Aubrey, and I, the three of us, we all write blogs. And I think that kind of helps because we're used to getting it down to the essence of what's your main idea for that particular post. So I think as you're starting to write, think about blogs and how bloggers really narrow their focus down.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. For all of you that are bloggers too, I think we kind of get like in terms of writing style. So we're kind of shift into the writing and the editing, kind of the whole process of this. So in terms of like what type of writing we're looking for, especially if you haven't read any of the stories, a little bit more formal writing than a blog would be, but not as formal as academic writing. And so we've definitely found people that are bloggers, and I'm so guilty of this. I use a lot of exclamation marks.
Me too.
Because I'm just so excited about everything all the time. But it gets a little redundant and a little bit too much with the exclamation marks. So, kind of trying to find that happy medium. And that's where our editors are phenomenal, is really like paring it down and keeping the excitement, but making sure punctuation isn't getting in our way.
I mean, I would always say, if I can jump in here, like you should write it sort of like maybe you're writing to your principal or your boss or something like that. Maybe if you have a really good relationship with them, maybe you'll put 10 exclamation points. But, typically in a little bit more formal work setting, you would, keep it, just a little bit more formal, still very personal. We're not looking for, disconnected or really scholarly writing, but something that, you could write, or maybe how you would write to a parent or someone just slightly more formal.
I would say too, my husband does all my editing, and so he's not an educator. So it's really good to have someone that's not an educator edit for you.
Yes.
Sometimes we get into our verbiage and we know exactly what we're talking about, but someone that's not in education might not know what we're talking about. So getting that reader that's not in education is probably a good idea.
Yes, that would be super helpful. And it's on the checklist also, the editing checklist. So, that brings us really nicely in to the editing checklist. And actually, if I can find that tab, I might just share my screen and we can talk this through a little bit. So let me find my screen share. Okay, there we go. Now you can see yourselves a bajillion times.
Hooray!
Okay, you can see that?
Yes.
So for those of you interested in writing, there is a submission template, and this is the official submission template. All of your personal information goes up at the top in the header. And the reason we do this, especially with the email address, is so that as the editors are going through, it's easy for them to find your email and tag you in comments if they have questions. And so a quick just step-by-step of what to do, as you're writing your story for submitting, but really kind of highlighting a couple things here. Please make sure you're submitting it as anyone with the link can edit. That way all the editors can have access to it, add in comments, make changes as needed, but that definitely makes the process go faster. In terms of guidelines for the story, looking at about 1,000 to 1,500 words, but plus or minus, kind of depending. I trust all y'all's judgment. That's just kind of suggested range. But like Aubrey and Marilyn were saying, really focusing on that single story. And I love the advice of how it would be writing to your principal or your boss. So that is awesome. We also have given you some style guidelines here, and these have just come up as I think that was the biggest growth point in volume 1, was realizing that we had a lot of matching up to do to get the book ready for publishing. And Aubrey, I'm guessing that's Aubrey laughing because she's so good at this. But I think it fell a lot on you, Aubrey, because you're so good at it and you see it all.
Mari, I was just a second.
Well, okay. Stop being modest, because totally. You're the reason why there's this list here. Because it's just stuff that we came up with as we were reading and realizing that there needed to be a style guide. So the submission template mainly is so that the fonts and text sizes and heading and headers and stuff are the same, so that all I have to do to put it together for final edits is copy and paste stories and then put them into the big final doc and then send them off to publishing. So that is super important. And then there's this checklist too, to please read your story out loud to yourself. I know this is stuff we tell our kids, but I think, teachers are the best. Aren't we the best listeners?
Always.
But yeah, reading it out loud to yourself to hear, that sentence structure and grammar. Having a friend or preferably someone not a teacher read it through. And then, and so then that's kind of how it is. There's just the frame here with the title as a header, and then a header for author, and then your text, your name, and then your bio. If you need help with the bio, feel free to reach out or just pick up previous copies of the book to kind of see how they're written. They don't have to be super long, but definitely some good examples in there too. So I'm going to come back to our hangout here. And let's talk a little bit about timeline. Aubrey, Marilyn, anything you want to add in to the template or from that side?
I would just say have fun with it, and I really do recommend picking up volume 1 and or volume 2 to kind of get an idea of how it flows and how it fits into the bigger picture. Because I know Mari really wants to kind of amplify individual voices in a sense, but really the book is the larger collection and bigger voice. So write your story, but that'll help you kind of get a feel for what it looks like.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're not sure, feel free to reach out. I've had people reach out with, here's a couple ideas I have. What do you think? And really taking those and paring them back. Overall, most stories are accepted. There's occasionally one that just doesn't fit kind of what we're looking at. But more often than not, we're able to work with that author to really get something that does fit.
I'm going to say too, if there's anybody watching that you're really not sure, maybe you're on the fence, maybe you're thinking you might want to do it, you might not want to do it. I would really say take that leap and write it. And I think there's so much personal growth when you step out and start writing. I think you're going to find that you really do have a lot to say, and that other people really will appreciate you sharing what, just the experiences that you have, because everybody is so different. The stories are coming from, younger teachers, older teachers, and each of us has our own unique experience and a voice and story to tell. So if you're on the fence, just take that step and do it.
Yes, please.
Yeah, and don't fret if you're like, I'm not a very good writer, I don't blog, I haven't done that. Because in part, that's what the editors are here for. Like, we're here to help make sure your story is clear and it works and it makes sense to the audience. And we want your voice. Everybody has a voice, whether you think of yourself as a huge writer or not.
That's true.
Yeah, definitely. And that's good to bring up the editing process too. So I guess a little, some transparency, but with the behind the scenes of how all the editing happens, because it's really nothing more fancy than Google Docs. And all of us are volunteer. None of us take any profits from this. There's just a lot of thank you cards
and swag.
And thank you. And cool swag, yeah. But my favorite part. But all the proceeds are donated to Donors Choose. So really, we're not here to make a profit. We're here to share your stories. And with that, so when stories are submitted, I just double check them through. I kind of like skim through them to get the idea of the story, just to make sure that yes, this is something we want to put in the book. Mm-hmm. If it's not, then I'll contact that author individually, and kind of start that conversation, and figure out if they want to rewrite or not submit. But so I take a look, and then I send it out to the editors. So all stories are edited in 3 rounds. Round 1, the editors just kind of are looking for spelling, grammar, punctuation, overall flow, and all that. And then the editors will tag in comments. This time I'm giving editors a little bit more free rein because I was getting tagged in a lot of comments before, which is great. But I want editors to feel like they can make edits without having to always check with authors. So if it's something like an Oxford comma or, maybe like a word choice, but you're not changing the meaning by fixing it, editors have full reign because these are people I really trust to make those changes. And then, so the first set of eyes, then the second set of eyes looks at it a little bit more detail, really looking for clarity and focus of the story to maximize that impact. And then after, they've passed through both of those, and I read it again very carefully. And then by then it's pretty much final edits, and then it's approved to get into the big, gigantic Google Doc that gets looked over again and does all the final formatting before I send it off to get published. So that whole process will probably be March and April. So authors, please make sure, you're checking whatever Google account you added in so that when you're tagged in comments, you can respond pretty quick. And
that's true.
I love seeing the dialogue between authors and editors. I think it's really cool. I like to, kind of stay back and watch that happen because there's just some magic in there. And like, I love the connecting. And if you get Marilyn on yours, you're going to get so much encouragement. If you get Aubrey on yours, it's a great thing because your writing is going to be so good.
Whatever.
But that's why there's a lot of eyes that look at these, because every single editor is good at different things.
Exactly. I'm going to say when I edit mine, I actually read mine out loud as well. My husband is in his chair. I'm on the couch and I read it out loud. So you actually get 2 editors in one when you get me, because I read everything out loud. So that's the behind the scenes at Marilyn's house.
Yeah. What's the behind the scenes at Aubrey's house?
I don't know. I edit that. I don't have anything exciting. I look through it. You keep saying I do. I've done some editing at work and a lot of stuff like that. So yeah, I would say that I try to have an eye for detail when I'm looking at things. And I hope that editing never comes across as like, this is wrong, this is a mistake, this is bad. We're all just trying to make this book the best we can. And like I said, all of us are good at different things. And so
it's true.
That's the goal, is improving the writing for everybody. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. It's such a rewarding process to read through these stories. And like, as I'm reading through them and editing them, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to share them. Like, let's get this book out as fast as possible. I think my little behind the scenes is I'm slowly teaching my dad Google Docs and commenting and how to tag people in comments. So he might be the 4th editor for this book.
Yeah.
Like, if you think Aubrey's intense in her editing, like my dad has a master's plus in English.
Yeah, I don't.
He is like the best editor I know. And so he might be the one I think you might get him involved.
Nice.
In this one, I think he'd really like it. Because, retired parents are the best. So, yeah, I'm excited for that. I don't know, anything else you both can think of?
Maybe, I know that this is kind of a post book, but the gathering that you had, you want to talk about that?
Yeah. Definitely looking at more engagement ideas with authors, not only before and during the book process, but then the after. So we did an awesome book release party, which Marilyn came out for, which was so cool. We had authors reading their stories. So hopefully the next one I can do some live streaming with it. And then, you know, like all y'all that don't live in San Diego or close by can attend too. We have a Flipgrid, which off the top of my head, I can't remember. But it's on the website under Share Your Story. And you can see authors, you know, giving their little brief clip about their story. So we'll do that again for volume 3. Other things in the works. Ooh, you want to know something top secret that I haven't told many people yet? Okay, cool. I'm glad. So hopefully if you have made it this far watching, you'll get to know something top secret. But I think after volume 3, I'm going to ask volume 1 through 3 authors, anyone who is willing, if they want to audio record their story. And I'm going to compile into a Fueled by Coffee and Love, the greatest hits audiobook.
I like it.
And then you can hear authors reading their own story.
That's pretty cool.
How cool would that be? I have no idea how this was going to happen.
I like it.
Love it. I think that'd be really cool. You know, because after the release party and like I'd read these stories, but then actually listen, and there are people, everyone that read was people I know and or work with, and just like hearing them read. Oh man.
I know for me as an audience member, I was like in tears for half of them. And I mean, the pull of hearing it out loud. There was one teacher that was a brand new teacher, and hearing her story, they were just, I don't remember all of them, but each one was really powerful. And I think kind of think Voxer, when you hear it, you know, you might communicate with people, but when you hear their voice, it really just makes it more powerful and more personal. So I think the audio would be really good.
I love that idea because I could not come to the release party, and I know I didn't far just for that, sadly. But yeah, there is definite power in that. That's really cool. I love that.
Yeah. Well, that's what's in the works.
And your Instagram account, Mari?
FBCAL Book. Twitter and Instagram is FBCAL Book. Facebook is, I think it's /Fueled by Coffee and Love. Just search
onto it and
look for the page Fueled by Coffee and Love. And then in email, fbcalbook@gmail.com is how you can find me on email for the book. Otherwise, you know, check the Twitters. We're around.
Can I just say one other cool thing?
Yes.
This project that I didn't really expect is after reading all of the stories, and then, you know, you go to a conference or you go to a summit or ISTE or something like that, and then you meet these people, and it's kind of fun to feel like you already know them or you already have a connection. Like I feel like it's to the point now where I start going places and I have a Fueled by Coffee and Love sticker on my Chromebook, and people are like, "Hey, I wrote for that too," and you're like, "What? That's so cool!" You know, so it's a really fun connection.
It's true. It's true.
I should start traveling with my book, and then every time I see somebody or meet somebody, I should like have them sign it.
Oh, good idea. Good idea.
Yeah,
I love that, Aubrey. You're so cool. You both are. Gosh, like this project, I couldn't do it alone, and I wouldn't want to do it alone. And I'm just so grateful, you know, for everyone that's submitted a story, helped, tweeted it, liked it, bought a copy. You know, you're going back and directly helping classrooms, which is so stellar.
Right. One more thing. Can you share how this project came to be?
I can.
Do you want to?
I do. Inside thoughts and outside thoughts. So in about February 2017, think about where the United States was in February 2017. And there's a lot of chatter in the media and online about education coming from individuals / an individual who had never stepped foot in a classroom. And so I was feeling really like, you know, they're saying all these bad things, but I know for a fact there's really good things. Even when school's stressful, even when kids are stressing us out or adults are stressing us out, there's so much good happening in our classrooms and in our schools. And we need to share that, and we need to kind of fight back and amplify these voices of teachers who are working their butts off. And, you know, since then, there's been a lot of, you know, strikes and I don't know if you'd call them demonstrations, protests, kind of things about, you know, teacher pay and teacher treatment, you know, those time articles about like teachers that need multiple jobs to make ends meet. And it just really shows that I think the general public, the non-teaching public, really needs to see like the heart and soul we're putting into our kids, and that, you know, the sensationalized media stories aren't what's truly happening on the day-to-day in most schools and most classrooms. So that's where it started, and it's really just turned into something that brings me so much joy, being able to share out all these stories and work together. It's just another excuse to work with my friends.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah,
It's super fun.
I mean, it's just an excuse to get on a hangout and chat too. Yeah. But I think, oops, there we go. I think.
Oops.
Yeah.
Places, and you know, it's all happening asynchronously, but through the power of technology, we're able to connect and work together. Gosh, thank goodness for Google Docs.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe volume 3. Maybe I should send a copy to the Google Docs team as a thank you. Don't laugh at me. Really though, like I think it makes a good gift.
Oh, Aubrey, hold on. Your artist, Michelle. Do you want to give her a shout out?
Heck yeah. No? I always want to give Michelle. Michelle Lasinski, otherwise known as Mo, is the artist behind the cover, the back cover, the logo. Oh, I think I have stickers somewhere. Look at this nerd. Just has stickers on her table. The stickers. If you're an author, then I have special author stickers. You know, she has just done some amazing graphics work. Again, all volunteer. She's amazing. So thank you, Mo. Gosh, there's so like Megan Kelly, phenomenal. I adore you, Megan. Did all the really cool promo graphics.
Those were good.
I know. I have one I need to post tonight.
Really good.
I know. So I have them for every single author from volume 2. And so she made those, like, seriously, really just good. I can't do all of these skills, so I've just, you know, been able to find people that can do it. But I think that's really, you know, Marilyn, you do passion projects, Genius Hour, whatever, you know, you call them in your classroom, and Aubrey, you have too. And I think it started out as my kids doing Genius Hour projects or 20 time projects. So I did one too. And, you know, realizing that I don't have to learn all these skills. I just need to find the people that can do these skills and be friends with them.
And I just have to give my shout out to Mari, because you really have had the vision. No, you have had the vision and pulled it together, you know, in a way that, like, I think about self-publishing a book or figuring out how do you do that. Like, that's a big vision, and it's just turned into something that's so cool. So you can't just shout out all these other people.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Well, I have 2 more shout outs. Thinking about the self-publishing part. Oh, 3. I'd like to thank my dog for being the best editing companion ever, and always reminding me to go on walks. I hope I didn't say the W word too loud. But no, really, you know, when I started this too, I was thinking, like, who do I know that's self-published? So Doug Robertson, as y'all know, he self-published his book, so I got in touch with him, and he really encouraged me on this journey, and got me connected with Ray, who's the one who does the publishing. So, you know, we do all the writing and formatting and editing and all that. And then I send it off to Ray, and he's the one who actually puts it in, like, the book format on a Word doc. So that's why it's like has to be the last step, because a Word doc is like basically a PDF. You all know what I mean. And so he puts it in the Word doc, and we look it over and make sure, and then he gets it up on Amazon, you know, to get the proof and up on there. So yeah, it's the only paid part of this process, but it's very reasonably priced. So anyone interested in self-publishing, holler, and I can connect you with Ray. He's, I always forget what the Y42K pub dot, look it up. I feel like I need to give a proper shout out. I think it is. Y42K.com is his website. So proper shout out. With that, I think I have shouted out and thanked. And is there anything else we're missing?
No.
That's the process. Stay tuned for volume 3 coming soon.
Can't wait.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you all for watching.